He is perhaps the man with the most comfortable retirement life. Every day, he listens to music on his yacht and drinks coffee. He was a top assassin who once made waves. Although retired, he hasn't lost his vigilance. When going out, he always activates the hidden protective devices on the yacht. This man's name is Arthur. He often visits famous tourists sitting and drinking beer on the mountain. Having just sat down not long ago, a beautiful and charming woman sat opposite him. The woman spoke first, asking Arthur to kill 3 people. Her boss also demanded that all assassinations must look like accidents, as that is Arthur's specialty. She even threatened Arthur that if he didn't comply, she would immediately reveal Arthur's address to his enemies. If that happened, Arthur's peaceful retirement days would end. The woman thought she had Arthur firmly in her grasp, but unexpectedly, he immediately pulled out a lighter and took her picture. The woman's face changed color, intending to draw a gun, but was forcefully pinned down by Arthur with the table. Arthur knocked the woman unconscious, then turned back to confront the thugs rushing forward. Although surrounded by many enemies, with his rich combat experience, Arthur utilized everything around him to attack the enemy. He turned the seafood buffet party in the restaurant into a bloody battle. Arthur defeated a dozen enemies. Then he saw on the surveillance monitor more enemies advancing upstairs. Not wanting to continue the fight, he turned and jumped down from a high platform. The woman hastily led people in pursuit. To get down the mountain, they had to take the cable car. The assassins rushed into the cabin but didn't see Arthur anywhere. But the woman heard a sound coming from overhead. It turned out, Arthur was hiding on the roof of the cabin. The woman immediately fired shots at the roof. Then she bravely kicked the cabin door to climb up. But unexpectedly, Arthur was even braver. He jumped from the high cabin, landed firmly on a hang glider that just flew by, then flew away, under the astonished eyes of the woman. It was an incredibly spectacular escape. At night, Arthur secretly returned home but discovered some strangers were on his yacht. Clearly, they were the same group as the ones from the daytime. Arthur decided to take a gamble, pressed a button on his phone, and activated the protection system. His $750,000 yacht immediately burst into flames. Arthur went to the warehouse area at the docks. Inside, one warehouse was his secret base. He burned the old fake passports, took new passports and cash, then disappeared once again. Arthur went to Koh Lipe Island, Thailand, a place with beautiful scenery. Here, he met May again, an old friend. Many years ago, he had been here, and May had always kept his small wooden house. As a top assassin with many years of experience, Arthur always had secret hideouts around the world. He could disappear for a long time whenever he wanted. When May left, he retrieved a long sealed box from under the floorboards, containing the computer and equipment he needed. Arthur uploaded the photo of the woman he had taken to the internet and searched. Finally, he found information about that woman. When he saw the picture of her boss, Arthur felt a headache, because it was someone he had known for a very long time. He knew he had to hide away for a long time again, but it seemed no matter where he hid, someone would find him. One day, Arthur noticed a beautiful, strange woman arriving on the island. This woman sought out May, asking for some medicine for injuries. Also, seeing the girl covered in injuries, May couldn't help but feel compassion. At night, the sound of a man and woman arguing echoed from the woman's yacht. May quickly found Arthur, asking for his help to rescue the beautiful girl. Initially, Arthur didn't want to get involved in anything, but he couldn't resist May's pleas. So he took a small boat out to the yacht. The woman was being pinned down and abused by a large man. Seeing Arthur board the boat, the man not only didn't stop, but abused the girl even more forcefully. He picked up a grenade launcher from the ground, intending to challenge Arthur. In just a few moves, Arthur knocked the man to the ground. The man unfortunately hit his head on an iron block and lost his life. The woman also fainted right at that moment. Arthur handed the girl over to May, while he went to deal with the aftermath. He went into the cabin to search and found the girl's passport and phone. Displayed on the phone was a picture of Arthur himself. Clearly, none of this was coincidental. It was all targeted at him. Arthur drove the yacht out to deeper waters and burned it to ashes. He angrily returned home, presenting the girl's passport. He questioned the girl named Gina, asking why his picture was on her phone. Gina initially wanted to resist, but realizing she couldn't fight Arthur, she confessed everything. She was threatened by someone named Crane and deliberately approached Arthur according to a plan. Once Arthur developed feelings for her, Crane would have people pretend to kidnap Gina to force Arthur to work for him. Arthur was all too familiar with these schemes and couldn't blame Gina much, as it all stemmed from targeting him. Arthur went online to learn more about Gina and discovered she was not simple at all. It turned out she was formerly a member of a special forces team, then went to Myanmar to open an orphanage dedicated to raising and educating children. Crane had kidnapped the children at the school to threaten Gina into working for him. Arthur realized Gina was only in this situation because of him, so he began to gradually lower his guard around her. The next day, he noticed a strange small boat appear not far from the shore. The person on the boat was monitoring everything on shore. He knew Crane had sent someone again. Arthur deliberately held Gina's hand, as it would temporarily reassure the opposition about her. The two attended a party hosted by May. With May's help, they gradually grew closer and began to develop feelings for each other. Arthur initially knew this was just a trap set by Crane, but he still couldn't resist Gina's sweet smile. As always, he again found himself immersed in tenderness. He also told Gina the reason why Crane repeatedly sought him out. It turned out, Arthur had been an orphan, sold to a gang in London as a child. Crane was like Arthur. Both were in the same gang, but later Arthur escaped while Crane failed. The gang's anger was all vented on Crane. Therefore, ever since then, Crane has always held a grudge against Arthur and always wanted revenge. Even if Gina hadn't come, Crane would still have sent many others to find Arthur. And that day finally came. Several speedboats full of gang members headed straight towards them. Clearly, Crane had decided to act. Arthur told Gina he would find a way to get her out, but because the enemy had too many people, Gina was still captured. Arthur was also taken to Bangkok. A charming long-haired woman thoroughly searched his entire body, then led him to a chair. Unexpectedly, as soon as he sat down, a remote-controlled bomb under the chair was immediately activated. Just one move, and he would be blown to smithereens. At this moment, Crane, his former comrade now turned enemy, finally appeared. Crane wasted no words with Arthur and immediately presented the mission he had to complete. Crane demanded Arthur kill 3 people, and only upon completing the mission would he release Gina. The first target was the most ruthless arms dealer in Africa. To protect himself, he had imprisoned himself in a jail on an isolated island, located next to cliffs. This prison was built on an island surrounded by sharks, so no enemy could approach him. Crane needed Arthur to infiltrate the prison and kill this man, but most importantly, it had to be disguised as a suicide. This was precisely Arthur's specialty. Before starting the mission, Arthur, nicknamed the Mechanic, began meticulous planning. To get into the prison, he drew fake tattoos on his face, disguising himself as a wanted criminal. He bought shark repellent from a store and disguised bombs as chewing gum hidden on his person. After everything was prepared, Arthur deliberately feigned drunkenness, caused trouble on the street, and provoked the police. The police discovered he was a wanted criminal and arrested him immediately. Although Arthur didn't look exactly like the wanted poster, the prison guards still confirmed he was the criminal thanks to the tattoos on his face. A boat transported the prisoners to the island prison. During the inspection of each inmate's belongings, the guards took Arthur's lighter but returned other unimportant items. Finally, Arthur met the arms dealer. Around him were many bodyguards protecting him. Even so, there were still many people who wanted to kill him. Arthur noticed a long-haired man nearby, seemed to be preparing to act, and a fat guy was secretly making a deal to buy a sharp knife. At lunchtime, Arthur deliberately pushed the fat guy, deftly stealing the knife. In the afternoon, the long-haired man finally made his move. He removed his prosthetic arm. It turned out a dagger was hidden inside the prosthetic. He rushed straight towards the arms dealer. Arthur seized the opportunity and threw the knife at the right moment. But upon seeing the long-haired man fall, the arms dealer realized Arthur had just saved his life. He was very impressed with Arthur's skills and offered to have dinner with him. However, Arthur didn't like having too many people around. This was the first time the arms dealer had met someone so cold, which made him feel excited, agreeing to have dinner with just the two of them. Arthur went to the arms dealer's cell, and indeed, it was just the two of them. The arms dealer started boasting about the times he escaped death at sea, but he had no idea his time was up. Arthur choked him from behind, pushing him against the window so the noise wouldn't attract the guards outside. Arthur stuffed a cloth into his mouth. Soon, the arms dealer passed out. To stage the scene like a suicide, Arthur mixed the powders the arms dealer usually used, combined with a little heroin, then forced him to drink it all. Immediately, the arms dealer convulsed, foamed at the mouth, struggled for a moment, and then died. Outside, the guards heard some noise and entered to check, but they only saw the arms dealer sitting before an altar, praying, unaware that he was dead. After completing the mission, Arthur went out to the exercise yard, sticking the small bomb hidden in the chewing gum onto the wall. Then he took the fuse from inside a cigarette, lit it, and simultaneously activated a communication signal to Crane. At this time, the guards started running towards Arthur. Arthur quickly took off his shirt, smearing the shark repellent onto his sturdy body. A loud explosion rang out. The wall next to Arthur blew up, creating a large hole. Arthur immediately climbed through the hole in the wall and jumped straight into the sea. Thanks to the shark repellent, he wasn't afraid of the sharks swimming around him. Meanwhile, a fishing boat not far away was pulling up its net, but strangely, there was nothing in the net. While the captain was still confused, Arthur was already standing right behind him. Arthur contacted Crane via video call. She confirmed that Gina was still alive. However, Crane didn't let Arthur rest and immediately provided information about the second target. It was a mining tycoon living in Sydney, Australia. He lived on the top floor of a skyscraper over 100 stories high, protected by many bodyguards. The rooftop where he lived had a private cantilevered swimming pool. All the walls in the apartment were up to 1 m thick concrete, and all steel doors were up to 2 m thick, so a direct assault was impossible. Arthur again began meticulous planning for the next mission. First, he pretended to be a wealthy businessman wanting to buy an apartment. A female realtor showed him an apartment in the middle of the building. While the realtor was on the phone, Arthur secretly photographed the apartment key. He started planning the assassination route, while also concocting a special chemical. He placed a special gel on the tempered glass, then injected a specially formulated chemical into it. After just 15 seconds, the tempered glass would shatter. Arthur began his operation. He disguised himself as a repairman and entered the building, using the fake key to open the apartment in the middle. Then, he cut the glass window and started free climbing up to beneath the cantilevered pool. Arthur used strong suction cups to cling to the bottom of the pool, slowly moving towards the middle. He used a drill to make a small hole in the tempered glass, placed his special gel into the hole, then pumped in the special chemical. At this moment, the tycoon swam right above Arthur and saw him. However, the glass suddenly shattered, causing the panicked tycoon to try to swim away. Arthur quickly retrieved the suction cups and slid down to the floor below. The hole in the pool grew larger, and the tycoon couldn't escape in time. Arthur safely retreated from the building, completing the second mission. Crane's assistant arranged a video call for Arthur and Gina to communicate. Taking advantage of the assistant's inattention, Gina cleverly adjusted the camera's position. While talking, she deliberately raised her hand high so Arthur could see the information behind the window. The assistant realized too late and angrily cut off the call. But Arthur had managed to see the ship's identification number. Finally, he knew where Gina was being held captive. Arthur immediately got on a helicopter and went to the docks, but the ship had already left. Believing the ship couldn't have gone far, Arthur ordered the helicopter to continue searching. Finally, they spotted the silhouette of the ship on the sea. Arthur jumped into the sea fully equipped and secretly climbed aboard the ship. He took down the bodyguards one by one. But Crane had anticipated Arthur's arrival and had an ambush team ready on the ship. Arthur tried to dodge the barrage of bullets. Gina's screams made him increasingly anxious. He charged onto the deck and was surrounded by a group of men. Arthur pulled the pin from a bodyguard's grenade and used his bulletproof vest as a shield. Just as he tried to get up, he received an electric shock to his thigh. Arthur was brought before Crane. Crane didn't do anything to Arthur, as he still needed him to kill the third person. Just as Crane ordered Arthur taken away, he suddenly smashed through a glass door and jumped into the sea to escape. For a top assassin like Arthur, pride remained. Although this rescue attempt for Gina failed, Arthur still had to continue the mission to kill the third target. The third person was a major arms dealer named Adams, living in Bulgaria. He was the largest arms dealer in North America and lived in a heavily guarded fortress. This fortress had a perfect security system. Even beneath the fortress, there was a submarine base housing a submarine equipped with intercontinental ballistic missiles, the thing Crane coveted most. The only way into this fortress was through the helipad on top. Therefore, this was Arthur's most difficult mission. While preparing for the mission, Arthur discovered that the 3 men Crane wanted him to kill were actually his competitors. If all 3 were eliminated, Crane would become the dominant force in the global arms trade. A bold plan formed in Arthur's mind. Arthur went to the hospital nearest the fortress. On the hospital roof, a helicopter was parked. Arthur lay prone and used a sniper rifle to aim at a guard on top of the fortress. One shot hit the guard's buttock, non-lethal but enough to require immediate medical attention. As expected, the hospital received an emergency call from the fortress, and the rescue helicopter immediately departed. Arthur had already hidden himself inside the helicopter. When the helicopter landed on the fortress helipad, while everyone was busy attending to the injured guard, Arthur silently slipped inside the fortress. He deliberately triggered an alarm, causing the arms dealer Adams to panic. Fearing death, Adams had built an emergency panic room inside the fortress. When Adams entered the panic room and closed the steel door, he realized Arthur was already sitting inside, having waited for him for a long time. What surprised Adams even more was that Arthur had no intention of killing him but wanted to negotiate a deal. The next day, Adams went to the submarine base alone and walked onto a suspended walkway. Unexpectedly, this walkway had been rigged with explosives by Arthur beforehand. In an instant, a large explosion threw Adams into the water. Arthur was waiting underwater, put an oxygen mask on Adams, and took him to a deserted island. It turned out, this was the secret plan between the two men. Arthur pretended to stage Adams' death, making him disappear for a few days to deceive Crane into thinking Adams was really dead. Crane fell for the trap and quickly sent his assistant and a group of henchmen to take over Adams' submarine base. Arthur had already arrived at the base, prepared all sorts of traps, and turned the place into a slaughterhouse, waiting to eliminate all of Crane's henchmen. A group of about 10 gunmen entered the submarine base. Arthur hid in the shadows and began to act. One soldier accidentally triggered a trap, and an automatic machine gun on the second floor sprayed bullets into the hallway, killing many instantly. Another tried to open a steel door, unaware that the other side was booby-trapped with a mine. With the help of machine guns and grenades, most of Crane's henchmen were wiped out. Only the terrified assistant was left. He fled and jumped into the submarine to hide. Just as he pulled the submarine hatch down, Arthur threw a grenade inside, blowing the assistant to pieces. Crane watched via the surveillance monitor, grinding his teeth in anger as he saw his henchmen completely wiped out. Arthur piloted a submersible towards Crane. Crane knew this final battle was inevitable. But he had one last trump card: Gina, Arthur's lover. Crane brought Gina to the bow of the ship, placing her in plain sight as bait, waiting for Arthur to fall into the trap. However, Arthur was not easily fooled. He had come alongside the yacht, immediately boarded, and began the fight with a dagger in hand. Every strike from Arthur was ruthless and precise, aimed directly at his opponent's vital points. He knew Crane was watching him, so he used his knife to smash the surveillance camera. Crane knew Arthur was furious, and he wasn't sure if he could withstand this rage. Crane then took Gina into the control room and began adjusting settings on the control panel. It turned out Crane had planted timed bombs on the ship earlier. He set the countdown timer with only 3 minutes left until the ship would explode. At this time, Arthur had rushed to the second deck, fighting barehanded alone, taking down many henchmen. In his rage, he was like a mad god of war, slaughtering. No one could stop him. Arthur entered the control room, but Crane had fled, leaving only Gina there. Arthur hadn't yet rejoiced when he heard the bombs count down. He realized there wasn't enough time to escape the ship with Gina. Arthur took Gina to a life pod, pushed her inside, then locked the door so she could escape alone. At the same time, Crane ordered most of his remaining men to find Arthur while he prepared to leave the ship. But Arthur wouldn't let Crane escape. He charged towards the escape boat, attacking Crane while it was rotating. Crane wouldn't give up. He grabbed a submachine gun and fired wildly at Arthur. He cut the ropes, causing the escape boat to fall onto Arthur. Then, he grabbed a metal bar and attacked him. The childhood friends had now become sworn enemies. Clearly, Crane was no match for Arthur. Crane carried a deep hatred for Arthur from childhood until now. With the bomb countdown down to 1 minute, Crane risked everything for a final blow. He grabbed an iron hook and attacked Arthur, but Arthur quickly countered, wrapping a chain around Crane's neck, binding him so he couldn't move. Arthur prepared to make Crane pay for what he had done, but Crane yelled, believing that even if Arthur escaped now, it was useless. The explosion would still kill him. Watching Arthur leave, Crane desperately screamed his name. The ship exploded into pieces. Gina's life pod surfaced. She landed safely, but Arthur was nowhere to be seen. Gina was heartbroken and despairing, while Adams stood nearby, lost in thought. As he was leaving, he noticed a camera mounted on a nearby pole. Late at night, Adams reviewed the video footage from the camera. The camera was pointed directly at the ship's burnt-out anchor locker. Adams looked up information about the anchor locker and discovered that the confined, sturdy space was just big enough for one person. In the video, he saw a familiar figure. It was Arthur. "You survived by hiding in the anchor locker." Adams smiled, but then immediately deleted the video footage. He could survive in this business for so long. Naturally, there was a reason. Gina returned to the school in Cambodia, resuming the life she had always wanted but still immersed in sadness. Suddenly, she saw a familiar figure appear before her. She knew that from now on, she would forever be with the one she loved. Today's story ends here. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, please give us a like and subscribe to the channel to support us. Goodbye and see you again.